So here we are, Rev June, just wanting to give you a little communication hack why your nonviolent communication doesn't work. So let's make it quick. The reason I'm drawn to this topic lately is that I've been seeing a few things on my social media. They come around every once in a while where people are like, oh God, I can't stand it when people try to use that nonviolent communication on me. And to me, like it's been such a lifesaver that I'm like, whoa, who are you talking to? Who are you talking to that is what's going on there? So it gets me wondering. So like my partner and my partner went off early in our relationship. I had already studied a lot of this stuff. She went off and did a retreat in a nonviolent communication style, a slightly different communication school, but that similar style. And it just revolutionized our relationship from then on out. And then I've used this type of technique in business environments and teaching massage therapists. And I have my massage therapists come back to me and be like, oh my gosh, I used that thing. Thank goodness you taught us that in business and marketing class, these communication hacks. And so when I see going around like, oh no, nonviolent communication, then I'm like, whoa, what's going on there? Why isn't it working? Or why are people having this reaction to something that I found is like, oh, the best thing? And people will tell you, it's like, oh, well, it feels unnatural. Like you'll come with your feelings and you're like, look, I got to express these feelings. And people go, they'll try to correct you, like, oh, hey, could you state that in an I statement? Or they'll use the model in ways that starts to feel manipulative, like that they're arguing for them to behave themselves to behave in unkind ways, but they're using this kind of like hippy dippy terminology to kind of put one over on you. So these are a couple of the ways, but I wanted to give you the one big reason why you're doing something that seems like it ought to be really compassionate and heart opening, and then it just doesn't quite work. The answer for me comes out of Dr. Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication. This is the person who developed it, and he said very specifically what nonviolent communication is for. And he said nonviolent communication, this classic model, he said a couple things. One, sometimes he said that it's for sharing what's alive in you. It's for sharing what's alive in you. Okay, that's cool. Another one is he said it's sharing from the heart. And then a last one is, he said it's a language of life. And then he was very specific in saying that it's not a game he called Who's Right, a game he called Who's Right. So here's the trick. One of the other things that it's not, but which we think it is it's not a game of getting my needs met. It's not so this may be a shocker, because in a system like nonviolent communication, it's often used in things like marital counseling and business and stuff like that. It's like, okay, state what happened, and then how did you feel about it? And then what were your needs that were unmet? And because there's this thing of state what needs were unmet, we can start to think like, oh yes, this is about me getting my needs met. And the thing I wanted to share with you is the minute we put the frame in that this is about getting my needs met, we're no longer usually able to share from the heart. Now, some of you are able to do that. You may have trained or something. Oh yeah. And there's nothing wrong with getting our needs met. Please don't get me wrong. Like, this is a wonderful thing, but it's not the main purpose of these communication type of methods. So, if I come to you and I want to share from the heart, that's going to include my feelings and my needs, and I'm going to try to ask you to be present to them. And then when you have those things, I'm also going to hear them. And anytime I think that the point is no longer sharing from the heart, but like getting my needs met or finding out who's right, that's when in Buddhist tradition, we sometimes call this using Dharma, using spiritual things as a weapon, using Dharma as a weapon. And have you noticed that people can take very sacred, beautiful things meant to open the heart and use them in manipulative ways? It's quite amazing. And so you will hear someone who's trained in this stuff, and they'll be saying sweet, sweet, hippie things. Oh, I felt this and I needed that. And you'll go like, wow, the tone that comes across is that like I was in charge of meeting your needs, or that I'm responsible for your feelings. And this is what I wanted to share with you, is this is exactly the opposite of classical nonviolent communication. Classical nonviolent communication has no part where we say, oh, so-and-so is responsible for my feelings, or so-and-so was responsible for meeting my needs. It's so revolutionary. It's such a different paradigm than most of us are used to, that we totally miss it and we do something else, and we call it compassionate communication, we call it nonviolent communication, but actually we're settling back into these usual patterns of arguing for who's right, or coming in with the primary goal of getting my needs met, rather than the primary goal of creating rapport and sharing from the heart. So if you want to learn more about this, I'm going to pop a link underneath there for my free webinar tomorrow, which is called Why Our Communication Sucks and What to Do About It. And we'll be talking a little bit about these principles, like where we can go slightly sideways and think that we're communicating lovingly and compassionately, but actually, like unbeknownst even to ourselves, we're being a little manipulative, rather than trying to open up the space more and share from the heart and facilitate that equal sharing back and forth. The last secret here is that the great news, what I have found through coaching people, through practicing this stuff myself, is that when we open up this sharing from the heart, it's often the time when you are best able to get your needs met. So this is this interesting thing, like we get out of things like zero sum thinking, where we think we're in this little box of, well, to do it my way you have to lose, or if I do it your way. We get out of these stupid compromises and we find strategies that actually meet everybody's needs, but those only seem to happen when we come with a primary aim of sharing from the heart, rather than figuring out who's right, rather than figuring out who's to blame, rather than figure out whose job was it to meet my needs. We can actually just empathize. Then all of this other stuff actually becomes possible. Greater understanding between one another becomes possible, and getting your needs met becomes possible. It becomes like a little bit of a Zen paradox. When you give up exclusive focus on how do I get what I want, you're more likely to get what you want. So this is just a quick hack on why your nonviolent communication, compassionate communication, why your communication techniques aren't working. Start with sharing from the heart, and you'll find it overcomes all sorts of obstacles. And meanwhile, people feel less manipulated. They feel less kind of messed with. All that stuff just goes away when we actually do nonviolent communication, which is sharing what's alive in me, sharing from the heart. And the last one from Dr. Rosenberg, how he talked about his art, was making life wonderful. Check out that class tomorrow for more details. Check out the upcoming 21-day free immersion, which actually kicks off a 10-month certification program. If you want to help to coach people how to make life wonderful together, then you want to check out all that stuff, and the links are going to be down below. All right, we will see you soon.